AWS to Splunk? Here's a simple overview. Let's break down the integration process into a few layers. We will start with the source layer, where the logs are actually coming from. AWS resources like EC2 instances, EKS, ELB, RDS, Lambda are producing logs pertaining mostly to the applications that are running on the systems. CloudTrail records API activity and AWS Management Console actions, providing visibility into user and resource activity, while VPC flow logs capture information about the IP traffic going to and from network interfaces in your VPC, providing insights into network traffic. All these services and many others produce logs within AWS platform. But where are these logs stored? There are two main services that act as storage for AWS logging: AWS CloudWatch and S3 buckets. Generally, you can configure the log destination for the AWS services that you use to one of CloudWatch and S3 buckets. So what we want to do is to see how best we can send these logs into Splunk. One of the popular ways is simply using a Lambda function. Lambda is a service from AWS which can execute a code that you will provide and can seamlessly be triggered when a new log is recorded in AWS CloudWatch or in an S3 bucket, for example. This is a very good option that you can go for, and possibly the cheapest. But you will have to manage your Lambda function by providing the code and handling eventual retries, failures, and acknowledgements. In some cases, an SQS queue would be beneficial for you to set up in front of your Lambda. Not much, but in general, a bit of management comes with this option. AWS provides a service that can do that management for you: AWS Kinesis. You can configure logs stored in AWS platform to be sent to an AWS Kinesis delivery stream, which will then handle the forwarding of these logs to Splunk automatically. It kind of does the same thing that you would do through Lambda, it's just that AWS will manage it. Definitely at the expense of some cost. In case you need the data to be processed and transformed before being sent to Splunk, in either of the options you will need a Lambda function that will transform your data as per your needs. From a Splunk point of view, you need to create an endpoint and provide your Lambda or Kinesis with authorization, that is a hack token usually, in order to send these logs to Splunk. Additional architecture can be achieved on the AWS side to simplify things. For example, if you're using AWS Organization, you can enable AWS Organization Trail, which will automatically create a trail for all the accounts in your organization. Or you can create a centralized location where you can aggregate your logs before delivery. But in the end, the logs are still going to be stored in CloudWatch or S3, and from there you can use the above methods to deliver them to Splunk. Some services, though, offer you the possibility to skip CloudWatch or S3 and ship some of the logs directly into Splunk. EC2, EKS, or ECS are the services where you have options to configure agents or log drivers that are sending logs into Splunk without storing them in AWS, thus saving some cost. Let's end with a short summary. Logs produced by AWS resources are mostly stored in AWS CloudWatch or S3. From there, you can use Lambda or Firehose in order to send your logs to a Splunk endpoint using a hack token. In case you want to process or transform your logs, Lambda is your best choice. A few AWS services, EC2, EKS, ECS, provide you the possibility to save some costs by skipping AWS storage and sending the logs directly to Splunk. Short, simple, and clear. I hope you enjoyed.